Alright guys, so I am at jury duty. So hopefully I'm getting chosen for a very exciting case. But so I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow or not. But I made a video lesson for your topic today, which is solving systems of equations by substitution. So grab your colors because I like to call this clouds and rainbows. So the official name is substitution, but I like to call it clouds and rainbows. So you will understand why in just a second I name it clouds and rainbows. Okay, so remember we started solving systems last week, and we started by graphing. And that's when we would graph the two lines on the same coordinate plane, and we would look for where the two lines meet. What we're going to do today is paper pencil. So without graphing, we're going to find where the two lines meet. So for our first example, let's start with how about y equals negative 2x and y equals 4x plus 6. Okay, the way this works is basically we have to get one of the equations solved for one of the variables. And it doesn't matter which one. A lot of you are used to doing y equals mx plus b, so you might end up favoring that. But the first thing that we have to do is get one equation equal to one variable. So if we look at this problem right here, both of them are already set equal to one variable. So we can skip step one because it's already been done. All right, step number 2. This is where we are going to make the cloud. Make the cloud. So I am going to use this one. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to pick this one right here. And I'm going to make this cloud around what y is equal to. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to float this cloud, because if y is equal to negative 2x, that means I can replace y with negative 2x in any problem. So I'm going to take this cloud and move it and fill it in right there. So now, instead of having y equals 4x plus 6, I'm going to have cloud equals 4x plus 6. And what's in my cloud is negative 2x. So what we're saying here is that because y is equal to negative 2x, that means that we can replace this y with negative 2x, which is what I did. So instead of it saying y equals 4x plus 6, it says negative 2x equals 4x plus 6. Now, it's hard to see the rainbows on this problem, but you can definitely see the cloud. So now what I'm going to do is just solve. So negative 2x equals 4x plus 6. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So that cancels. And I get negative 6x equals 6. Divide both sides by negative 6. That cancels, and x is negative 1. All right, so now what this means is that I know that these two lines up here are going to meet at the point -1 something. So now what I need to do is figure out what that something is. But if I know x is -1, then I can go back up here and fill in -1, or I can go up here and fill in -1, because I know that x is -1. So if x is -1, then this would say y equals -2 times -1, which means that y equals 2. So now I know that these two lines meet at that point. All right, so let's go back and fill in our steps. First thing we were supposed to do is get one equation equal to one of the variables, and that was already done, so we really didn't have to do that. Then we made the cloud around one of the problems, and it didn't matter which one, as long as it was equal to the variable. Then we floated the cloud, and we replaced the y with the cloud. Then we went through our steps to solve. And then once we found what x equals, we had to fill in, which is again substituting in the value of -1, fill in to get the point. And again, we're looking for the point where the two lines meet. All right, let's try another one. So moving on to example 2. I'm going to move all my markers here. All right, let's do, how about y, whoops, sorry, forgot example 2. Y equals 5x plus 1 and 2x plus 4y equals 4. All right, so if you look back at your steps, step 1 says to solve one of the equations for one of the variables. And we have the first equation solved for y. So we don't need to do step number 1. It's already been done for us. Step number 2, we said, was to make our cloud. So I'm going to make our cloud around what the y is equal to. In this problem, the y is equal to 5x plus 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the y with the cloud. So I'm going to float this cloud and put it right there. So now if I rewrite this problem, I have 2x plus 4 cloud equals 4. And inside the cloud, I have 5x plus 1. All right, so this was already set equal to y, so I put that in the cloud. The next thing I need to do is to replace the y with the cloud. So I'm going to bring this down here and plop it right there. So I still had 2x plus 4, and then I have the cloud equals 4. And in the cloud is 5x plus 1. Now, this is why I like to call this clouds and rainbows. Because now what I need to do is multiply the cloud by 4. And if you remember from last year, that means distributive property. So here, there's my rainbow. So now we have clouds and rainbows. I don't know, can you tell the difference in that color? Hold on. Let's do a dark purple. You can tell the difference in that one. All right, so my new equation is 2x plus, my first rainbow gives me 20x And then my second rainbow right here gives me plus 4 equals 4. All right, now I can add those two together. So that would be 22x plus 4 equals 4. So now when I go to solve, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So 22x equals 0. Then divide by 22. That cancels, and x is 0. So what this tells me is that these two lines up here meet at the point 0 something. So they're going to meet at the point 0 something. And to figure out what that is, I know that x is 0. And since x is 0, I can go up here and fill in a 0 for the x. If I fill in a 0 for this x right here, whoops, sorry about that. If I fill in a 0 for this x right here, I'm going to have 5 times 0, which is 0, plus 1. So 0, 1. So now I know that these two lines meet at the point 0, 1. All right, let's try another one. All right, here we go. Let's see here. This is example 3. Okay, for this problem, we'll do y minus 2x equals 1. And we can do y minus 2x equals negative 3. All right, first thing that we have to do is solve one of the problems for one of the variables. And it doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to change, well, I'll change this one since it's on the bottom. So I need to get this equation solved for one of the letters. So I'm going to solve for y. So I need to add 2x to both sides. So that's gone. So I would get y equals 2x minus 3. So now I have one of the equations solved for one of the variables. So that is what's going to go in the cloud. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the cloud and we're going to replace the y. Since I solved for y, I'm going to replace this y with the cloud. So I'm going to send my cloud up over here. So if I redo this problem, I have cloud minus 2x equals 1. And inside the cloud is 2x minus 3. All right, once again, I don't have a rainbow to draw because there's nothing out here to multiply the y with. So now I'm just going to solve the equation. So I have 2x minus 3 minus 2x equals 1. So I can combine those together, and 2x minus 2x cancels. So I end up with negative 3 equals 1. Well, here's a problem. I don't have a variable to solve for anymore. So what this tells me is that this must be one of those special problems, and it ends up that it is. And since 3 does not equal 1, this has no solution. All right, you might need to go back and review the examples that I did. So it's not a problem if you need to do that, if that would be helpful. And then pick up the worksheets on solving systems by substitution. And hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow.